Hello, everyone. I'm Paxton Gray, CEO of 97th Floor, and this is The Campaign. Thank you for joining us today for another episode of The Campaign, where we talk with marketing leaders about better knowing your audience, innovating beyond best practice, and converting visitors into customers. The Campaign is produced by 97th Floor, a digital marketing agency designed to build world-class organic and paid channel strategies for mid-level and enterprise organizations. You can find past episodes of The Campaign on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and at 97thfloor.com. Today's guest is Whitney Goldstein. Whitney is the Director of Marketing at Gorilla Logic, a software engineering firm that builds digital products and platforms. Before that, she led marketing at Rever during their rebrand from eFile Cabinet. With nearly a decade of experience in B2B marketing, Whitney's approach to leadership is to create a collaborative environment where creativity, innovation, and analytics converge to fuel decision-making. We're going to hear more about Whitney's leadership style in today's episode and her unconventional approach to AI adoption. Whitney will also share how Gorilla Logic refused to become just another AI company when everyone else was jumping on the AI bandwagon. And we're going to dig into what she calls the Swiss Army marketer philosophy and why being a specialist might actually be holding your career back. Let's get into it. All right, Whitney, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Whitney, I think it would be a really great place to start by having you maybe explain a little bit about what you do at Gorilla Logic and what Gorilla Logic does as a company.
Sure. At short, we build digital products and platforms accelerated by AI. So we are a software engineering firm. We comprise of a bunch of consultants in the nearshore region. I'm the Director of Marketing. I've been here for about a year, and I report up to the CGO, our Chief Growth Officer, who oversees sales and marketing. So it's been a really fun journey so far. I've learned a ton, and it's been an amazing team that I've been able to lead here. So I'm really excited.
I think the thing that I'd love to dive into with you more is, especially given what Gorilla Logic does and what you do within Gorilla Logic, is bringing about change within a team. Things change very quickly within our industry, especially lately, and it is one of the most difficult things to just change yourself and adapt yourself for the changing landscape, but then to bring a whole team with you or to incentivize them and push them to innovate. So I'd love to talk about, number one, what are you seeing maybe as some of the best ways that leaders should be thinking about how to bring about change within a team? And then we can get into some specifics.
It's always difficult to come into an organization as a leader and take over a team when there's been changes and the team is also anticipating changes that are coming. So it's a really delicate balance. And every time I've done it, I've gotten better and more confident. And then there's always a curveball that is thrown at you and something that you thought was going to go really well changes. But overall, yes, I do try to lead with the truth, which is I am coming in here with a specific purpose. And the purpose is usually to set up some type of center of excellence within the demand gen team or the marketing team, or we need to go in a direction that the leadership team or the executive team has already kind of stated and that they know that. And maybe they don't know what that direction is. And so I'm going to try to lead them in that place. So I always start with at least the truth and the honesty, which is, this is what I'm here to do. This is what we're going to do together and build together. I also sit down with each team member individually, and I try to get them and their perspective of what's working well, what's not working well, individually in their specific roles. What are you doing that you like? What don't you like? Like, I sometimes don't have all the authority to be able to make such drastic changes, but if I do, and there's something that you're not doing that you want to do, or vice versa, maybe I can shift some priorities around and make some change. So there is some positive that can come out of it, even if there's anticipated change within the organization or the team. And then I also ask them, like, what are their career aspirations? What can I do to support you and grow in your own career? I'm a marketer by trade, and my history has always been in marketing, but my path has been very non-traditional. I've had a lot of opportunities to grow, opportunities that people have given me. And so I try to pay that forward to my team members as well.
I love that. Yeah, I've always thought, like, every leader needs to know what their team members want to do next. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know that, that's like you're leaving so much opportunity on the table to give them chances to grow in those areas. And not knowing that is, I think, a big mistake. Speaking of mistakes, what do you feel like are some of the biggest mistakes that marketing leaders, when they're stepping into taking on this new role, inheriting this team, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see happen. And I think it's also helpful maybe to dissect like why we often step into those mistakes.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's a great question. I think it's the same coin but different sides.
Mm,
Sometimes making decisions too quickly or making changes too quickly, and sometimes it's not making changes quickly enough. Um, and I've done both, and I've learned from both mistakes, right? So I've gone in with assumptions of team members or team changes that I'm going to make or things I'm going to directionally do, and then something happens and it blocks the way, or I find a couple of months later or weeks later after working with the people that what my initial uh, idea of or my initial perception of this person or the team is totally different than what it is. So there is a balance, and it depends on who you're reporting to and the organization and what changes they've gone through, whether to go fast or slow or somewhere in the middle and make an educated step and change, right? Because like I said earlier, it's difficult to change an organization. It's just difficult to be on a team that's had so much change. And so you have to be really cognizant and respectful of the team members that have gone through those.
yeah. So you've got, I think, a really great background, like coming in and leading teams within the marketing space. You've made the jump from SaaS to consulting services. How do you feel like um, selling intangible expertise rather than tangible software changes your approach to the way you market and like the buyer's journey?
It's also a really good question. I mean, you know it better than anyone, right? Selling expertise and selling your services is so much different than selling a product and something tangible that someone can either do a product trial or a demo or something of. And so there's so many tools that we kind of take for granted or that I would have taken for granted in the SaaS and product world that now I'm looking at. I'm like, I wish I had some way of explaining and visualizing what we do. So there is that component. There is a product visualization or an expertise visualization that you could do, but it is definitely a different ball game. However, I would say that the fundamentals of marketing and what we're doing and our approach to marketing, our integrated campaigns, various messages, ABM campaigns, those are all fundamentally the same. The difference is what you are saying. So I've always kind of sold to or marketed to a very technical buyer. In the professional services or consulting world, I've had to really understand the meat and technicality of what we're doing and what we're selling to portray the expertise in a very concise message, which is very difficult
Mm.
if you're not an engineer and you're not actually doing the work and then explaining the work. Because some of the PowerPoints that we provide clients, as a marketer, if you're coming into this organization or you're seeing some of these materials, you're like, this is gibberish to me. So it's a delicate balance of making sure that we have the right message to the right audience and we're portraying expertise, but not overselling what we could actually do. And also not giving away kind of the secret sauce of what makes us so unique and differentiated in the market.
That's interesting. Maybe we've had that same experience. It took me a long time to learn this, but we would hire someone to come in and do sales who had the SaaS background, and I learned pretty quickly after doing that SaaS background lends itself to you just learn the pitch and then you give the pitch,
Mm-hmm.
and you can have adaptations, but generally it's like the pitch is the pitch. And in services, that is not at all how it works. It's much more consultative. And, the name of the game is trust, really, in the marketing of the services. And I imagine it's very similar on your end. How do you help your team, who in this case they have a marketing background, and then they need to speak the engineer speak enough to develop that trust? How do you help them get up to speed, or how have you yourself gotten up to speed on all the things that maybe it's not as applicable to your background?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, and also to close the loop, I mean, I'm sure you know this. We are speaking on this podcast. So much of the sell or the sale is relationship driven, right? And like
Yeah.
it's so much of making sure that you maintain those relationships and keep in contact because you never know when the client's going to come back or expand. So I think that's also an important note. But yes, um, I have spent a lot of time, and it's something I actually do think is really important for someone coming into the team to spend a lot of time to understand what it is that we do, how we talk to clients, and what makes us unique. So what I have done is we've set up a lot of different trainings. We have some new offerings that are related to AI that are different than what other people are doing in the market. And it's with anything that is new and different, and the tech is also kind of pushing us towards acceleration and adoption in a heightened way or an accelerated way, not to use the same word again. Um, a lot of training. So I have set up several different trainings internally, mainly for our engineers and for what we would call our gorillas. Um, but also for my team and other teams that are cross functional to understand how difficult it is for just our engineers to adopt new ways of working and new tools and strategies that we're going to market with, internalizing that and then working with them as if I'm going to give the pitch myself. So there's several different trainings that we've done internally that I've then turned into scripts or kind of documents of, this is our North Star of our new messaging and our new go to market strategy. Really understanding, quoting, and practicing with the team, even though none of us are going to sit on a pitch with a real client or walk them through a pitch deck, but showing that we're invested enough to be able to do it ourselves and raise our hand in front of a group of people and say, we're going to, show what we've got. And if it's not right, we're happy to take critiques and feedback, work through this together. I think has really shown that the marketing team is invested in what we're doing. We want to understand and we want to do better, and we want to be a true partner. So I think that really showed leaps and bounds in those recent trainings that we've done.
I love that. Yeah, I've seen that. It's like it's on the marketing team to display their willingness to learn, especially when you're dealing with the technical audience in-house. And
Yeah.
it's amazing, and I think underappreciated how quickly that trust can be broken. And that's something that I think a lot of marketing leaders don't fully understand, is their role and responsibility to develop that trust. Because when you have that trust, things move so much more like smoothly and quickly. Yeah, I love that. So are you saying that you have the engineers come and train the marketing team, or are they all doing trainings together, listening to the same thing?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. So some of it, we have very different tracks in the organization and different teams that are kind of focused on different things. But solution engineering and like the IT adjacent kind of team are supporting sales and the bridge between the engineers, right, and the sales team, which is typical in most SaaS or product organizations. So those teams are the ones that are usually setting up those trainings to make sure that the sales team and the engineers are both kind of on the same page and are understanding what is the go-to-market message and how are we positioning this. But some of the trainings are also done via various kind of tracks or opportunities internally to connect and partner with other teams that you normally wouldn't with, and talk about what we're seeing from AI, what are they learning from AI, what tools are they using, kind of cross-functional knowledge sharing. Especially with remote organizations, I have found that setting up specific purposeful kind of meetings or cohorts of people to connect and talk really helps facilitate that cross-functional collaboration, and then it makes it easier for my team to reach out to them because they have that rapport already, and they've the other teams have seen us kind of be vulnerable and share like what we're doing and what we're playing with or what we're testing. So
yeah, it's really breaking down a lot of silos that I would imagine just naturally develop unless you actively tear them down.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about AI for a little bit. So AI is something that every organization seems to be hopping on, launching new things that are, AI layer, whatever. And it seems like Gorilla Logic is actively positioning itself not as one of these AI, like just another AI company. Tell me about the thinking behind that and the reaction that you're getting from it.
Yeah, I mean, so yes, you're spot on. We are not taking the traditional route right now, where we're seeing a lot of our competitors or people in the space are going with the agent AI or agentic AI kind of approach, where we're going to give you tokens or a subscription to something, and our AI agent is going to solve XYZ. We are not taking that approach just because we believe at the end of the day, fundamentally, we're still doing what we've always done, which is building digital products and platforms for our clients. The methodology in which we do them, the tools in which we're using are different, but fundamentally we are still doing that and we don't want to change from that. So we have two main offerings that we are going to market with that are AI adjacent or AI enabled. So our AI enabled product engineering, which is what I just explained, and Construct or Gorilla Logic Construct, which is our proprietary AI workflows. They're accelerators that are meant to um, speed up or accelerate the outcomes of traditional engineering software development life cycles that are proven, uh, outcome determined, and we can accelerate them by kind of using those predefined workflows.
Okay. And is the market responding to that, or are you finding people like, hey, I mean, I noticed you're not, talking about AI as much, or you're not, or are they like, thank goodness that you're not just spouting all this AI stuff like everyone else?
It's a little bit of both. It is a little bit of both. I wish I could say that it has been accepted easily, loving, and everyone's like, yes, let's sign up right now. The reality is that any type of technological change in the industry and shift causes disruption, causes uncertainty, and also causes people to not buy, which is kind of what we're seeing right now. So there are a lot of people that are going for the AI agents or that kind of token subscription. Um, the reason that we didn't want to do that and the reason that we are feeling a positive response from the market and from our customers and prospects is because we're not pushing another subscription. It's not another thing that they're locked into. It's not a tool. It's not a product. It's not a platform. It is still our expertise at the end of the day that we are delivering to them. And at the end of the day, what they receive is something that is proprietary to them. They own, they can continue. So we are seeing a huge relief from a lot of people that ours is different and that we're still at the core doing what we've always done. And I will say too, I think more people will probably go in this direction. We're probably a little bit early in the market to be saying something so different than the big competitors that we, are against. But it has been really refreshing. And also as a marketer, I feel like every several years we all have, AI is the new boom. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone's using it. And it gives us an opportunity to say, how am I going to go to market with this message? And it challenged me as a marketer and my team to say, we have something new. We have to educate them on it. And we also have to explain why our position is this way. And so it's been a really interesting journey. And like I said, it has been received really well from the market.
I like that. I imagine too, it's also somewhat invigorating for a team to say, hey, we're taking this contrarian message and driving that forward. Maybe almost regardless of what the message is, they just feel like I'm owning this and we have this direction that's probably breathing a lot of life into the marketing team.
Yeah. And everyone's really excited about it because it's different, right? It's not just the same message that so many people are giving in the market. And so you feel really empowered to actually deliver that message and also deliver on those promises once we actually get an engagement with a client to say, we have seen this and we've proven it and we know exactly what to do, and you're going to be blown away by the outcome. There's so many times that at the end of the engagement, our clients are saying, okay, so let me see the code that you've created. And at the end of the day, we're saying there is no code, right? Because of all of these amazing tools and our accelerators and within our construct workflows, there is no code anymore, right? What we're delivering is just an accelerated outcome by a predefined workflow. It's really amazing. And I'm probably not doing it justice because we're still refining the message, but yeah.
I love it. And yeah, differentiation is another one of the, we talk about it a lot, but I think it does go overlooked and is not quite executed well in most companies. And this is a really great example of taking that stance and moving forward with that. So let's shift into AI at the team or more specifically the marketing level. I've asked lots and lots of people this question, and I find some interesting answers. And I know that the way you approach this is something I haven't heard of before. So how do you get your team to adopt AI and more specifically explore within AI? That can be. It was a barrier that I'd never expected because it just seemed like, oh, it's new tech. Everyone's going to play with it. But it is very difficult to dive in when I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be worth my while. So how do you encourage your team to take that leap and explore within AI?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I'm at the end, I will come back because I'm actually really curious to know how your team is doing it as well. But when I joined the organization, there was a really significant shift and kind of push for all teams and departments to be using AI and also reporting on how are you using it and what are you seeing as the outcome. In the several months that we've been working on our messaging and go-to-market message with our AI-enabled workflows and also Gorilla Logic Construct, we have found, and all of the research is pointing to the headlines of 95% of AI projects that are implemented are failing, or there's no measurable outcome from these AI tools that we're implementing into our organizations. So I think my approach is a little bit different just because of the nature of the organization that I'm in, and also being in such a technical industry that I feel like my team is definitely behind, but we're behind on a purpose. And so instead of my team coming to me and saying, hey, we were able to write a blog post 1.5x faster than we were before, right? Or we were able to write more content faster. We're taking that approach and we kind of tabled it for a little bit and we said, there should be a measurable outcome from what we're seeing, not just we're moving faster. Like, yes, moving faster is important, but if we can't definitively say why it's making progress and it's showing up better and making incremental change that helps the bottom line or the business goals, why are we doing it? Right? We're just using another tool to go like a little bit faster. Like, there's so many different ways that we could do that, and there's so many tools that we already use and love. Is this really making an impact on our team? So instead, what I have told my team to do is stop focusing on what tools we're using, how many of them we're using. We really need to work from the workflow level, the same that we would with our clients. If there isn't a predefined outcome and a process that we can dependably follow and repeat and have something do it for us, then it's probably not going to make that substantial of an impact to our team and our department. So that is the approach that we're taking. Is we really want to use the tools wisely, and then also there's the component of governance and security, which so many of these tools right now are requiring you to integrate into your Google Analytics and your Google Ads, which is great and it does work. It still needs so much refinement that we're actually spending more time editing the AI stuff than it's actually helping us. So there's all these different kind of components that we've found that are reasons why we shouldn't be doing it. And so what I've actually asked my team is, instead of spending 10 minutes or 30 minutes in between your workday and task switching or multitasking on getting this out the door and then also playing with AI and trying to come up with a metric that is proving that it's working, why don't we take this off the table and take the stress away from it? We are using AI in our organization. We're using AI in the marketing team. What I've asked them to do is every 2 weeks, spend 4 hours of your Friday and forget about the work that we have to do and the deadlines that we have to do, and spend that time dedicated to implementing and testing and playing with AI tools and investigating, right? I'm not asking for you to solve the world's problems. I'm not asking you to come with a new solution of how we're going to create graphics or ads. I just want you to learn and explore, and then we can come up with a holistic way of how we're going to implement this, and it's going to make sense for the entire team, not just one person.
I love that. That's very similar to Google's, dedicate some time every, I don't remember what it is, every month or to building something new. And many of their best products were born out of setting aside that time. Has anything interesting come out of those sessions?
Yes. So we're creating a sales kickoff video for sales kickoff that's coming up. And in variety of different tools that we have kind of played around with, we've found so many amazing ways that we can combine videos and get what we want that looks really high quality without spending a ton of money. And we're not, signing up for a subscription. We're not using a specific tool. It's just, this is the workflow that we have to go through. We know that this is already the outcome that we need. So how can we augment our work and make it stronger?
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, I can appreciate that focus on quality. Efficiency is always the default. I think it's because we're just naturally wired to seek efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing that we're wired for efficiency, but it is definitely the default, and resisting that and fighting for quality or what can we do now that we couldn't do before. I think that is maybe some of the more interesting ways, because I can write these blog posts, I can write these ads, I can generate this image, all that. It's like, sure. But frankly, it's kind of boring, and it's what everybody's doing. I'm much more interested in the, what can we do that we couldn't do before?
Yes.
Realm. Yeah. I love that.
Or it still goes back to metrics, right? Working with a team like yours, however we get the ad copy and the ad creative, okay, if we can do it faster than we were before, that is great. But it is always the result and the outcome of them that matters most, right? So if we're using AI to augment our team's work to write copy and create images, it also should have a metric at the end of it that's saying they're performing better than the human ones. If they're not, then why are we using it?
Yep. Yes, definitely. And it's mixing up the KPI. The KPI should not be volume of content. It should not be, but look at how many, or it shouldn't also be how quickly we did it. None of that, all that is secondary. I mean, it can be measured and it can be helpful, but it is secondary, as you're saying, to the outcome. What is the purpose? That, like, why does this exist in the first place? And we should be optimizing for that. And that's a great call out. Let's talk a little bit about B2B. So you've got extensive experience in the B2B space. And again, an underappreciated difference between B2C and B2B. A lot of people will say, hey, B2B is just B2C. It's human to human, man.
Hmm.
And that, I think that's a true sentiment, but that's also a flag that this person probably hasn't worked too much in B2B when you're dealing with like complex buying committees, and like it can get very sales cycles can be very much longer. There are actually sales cycles versus D2C. I'd love to know what you said, that the traditional channels still work. And we're talking specifically within B2B, but they're not dependable or not as dependable anymore. Everyone's using the same AI tools, the same platforms. So how are you thinking about differentiation from a marketing perspective within the B2B space, maybe even from like a channel perspective? Where are you looking at as the new ways to go? What are you interested in exploring?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think you work with a mix too, so you're probably seeing this convergence of the two. Um, I think we're always going through waves of the traditional channels, and what I mean by traditional is print and out of home, or direct mail type strategies, events, billboards, right, mass kind of advertising. There's an ad that we've been looking at recently that's in the airport, that's like in the huge terminal. So stuff like that, we're seeing a comeback, and I think we've been seeing that for several years. There's digital billboards now that you can use, or people are geofencing events, and if there's a pre and post event strategy that people are doing. So maybe they're not actually going to the event, but now all of these are very similar tactics that we've seen over time that have evolved to share with the market. But yes, I would say that especially in a world where people are very hyper aware of data and cookies and what's being tracked, and that they know that they're being followed, and retargeting, those are just not as strong as they were before. We can't really rely on those channels and tactics that we did prior to get a sale or to get a customer. So I mean, I'm definitely leaning into content. That's been a theme for the last at least 2 to 3 years, is content is king, with the caveat that we're trying to be very specific about what we're putting out, and not just my own term of this AI slop or AI stuff that we're seeing all over. But I do think the traditional channels, paid search, organic search, SEO, AIO, all these optimizations that we can make with a Gen AI overview, or whatever search results are coming from that search engine, those are also still channels that are still performing well and still very dependable from a B2B or potentially probably a B2C perspective. So it really depends on the audience, and it also depends on the stage of the funnel and the relationship that you have with the client, right? I don't think I'm gonna send a direct mail to someone that's never heard from us before. So it really does depend, and I'm seeing different channels work for different audiences, and yeah, I think it
Yeah.
depends.
I want to dive in a little bit deeper because I was watching your reaction when I was talking about B2B and B2C. And it seems like maybe you might be on the side of, these really are the same thing. And given your extensive background in B2B, I'd love to hear maybe your take on that. And because there is a bit of a convergence, especially, lots of B2B brands should be looking more at TikTok and Instagram and other channels like that they've traditionally completely ignored.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'd love to hear your take on that. Maybe your opinion actually is different, and that they should be viewed as the same.
No, I do think that there is a fundamental difference. I'm laughing just because in my personal life as well, I'm sure you've experienced this many years. But a lot of my family members and friends, they make jokes. They're like, I still don't know what you do, and it's so
Yeah.
funny because marketers in my group or in my family, direct family, and they're direct to consumer or B2C, and the difference is we might as well be not in the same world. Like it's a joke to call us both marketers because what we do is so fundamentally different. So I do think that it depends on the brand, it depends on the business. There is always, of course, some type of overlap. They're advertising, they do email, they do campaigns, we do campaigns. They have a website, we have a website, right? But fundamentally, the approach, like you said, is so different. They don't have a buying committee. They don't have hurdles and objections they have to get through. There isn't the fiscal year end component. There isn't layoffs and changes within the industry and partnerships that they value and MSAs and NDAs and all of the things that make um, solution selling and strategic sales so much more complicated than direct to consumer. Not to say that it's easy, it's not. To do it well and to do it consistently well is difficult. Your team knows, but I mean, you know better than anyone, right? To provide consistent results, regardless of B2C or B2C or B2B, you have to be constantly improving, iterating, and making progress. It's just fundamentally different though. The objections and the journeys are just different from B2B from my
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, I agree. One of the big differences too is the feedback loop. D2C, I can send people to this page and they buy or they don't buy. And then let me optimize. And now do they buy? B2B, you have do they sign up? Did they get a demo or not? That's true. But then did they convert or not? Did they, it's a much longer feedback loop often, with many, many touch points, and their journey is often very complex. And so that is one of the things that, we do B2C too, but we're probably about 70% B2B. And that's one of the things I envy a lot about like the direct to consumer brands, where it's just like, I send this ad, it's a volume game,
Yeah.
and it's like, there's some B2B companies where they'd be willing to pay, $5,000 just for a lead because the conversion value is so high, and
Yes.
they're looking at getting, a couple conversions in a month, and they're like stoked with that. So it's like very, very different worlds, but it is interesting to see how they overlap. You have those, I'm talking too much here, but
No, no.
those companies that I think they are B2B, but they adopt a lot of the B2C model, like MailChimp back in the day. That was a B2C marketing strategy applied to the B2B world, and it was very successful for them.
Yes.
Slack was also it felt very B2C, but it was, obviously more B2B. So anyway, I think that is a fascinating area to look into for growing B2B.
Yeah, and I'm sure your team is. I mean, I know from experience of working with them, they're also exploring channels that were traditionally B2C. They're now B2B, or vice versa, B2B to now working with B2C. Reddit, you had someone on the podcast recently that was talking about the strategies of utilizing that audience and how those have shifted over time. The more male dominant and technical audience. Now people like me are on there. I mean, I've been on there, but I'm curious from your perspective, how have you seen the strategies shift over the last specifically year and a half with AI and the convergence of those?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think AI, the bigger shift has happened less in the marketing channels or the marketing execution, and more on what's happening internally at these organizations. So, you have some C-suites that say, okay, AI's out. I don't need all of you. You're gone. And then that's happening many times and having a massive ripple effect on buying behaviors for people at organizations across the board.
Yeah.
So I think what it's created is, it's not just, in the B2B space, it's funny to see very different industries, but the buying behavior is following somewhat similar patterns, where there's been a bit of depression as AI was released, and then this bounce back as the promises of AI aren't quite there. So, I mean, that's kind of a weird nuanced take there, but yeah, I think from a marketing strategy, everybody who was like completely 100% in on AI producing my content, what I feel like are the lazy answers and applications for AI, a lot of them had a really hard time. It started off well, but then it did not go well, and both algorithms and the general population started to catch up to that, and so the name of the game needs to then be, okay, do you move on to the next thing that will eventually catch up to and then won't work? Or do you invest more in building trust, building those relationships? And that, in my opinion, is more of a moat for B2B brands.
Yeah.
And is where I think, marketers should be spending their time.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
Let's end on marketing's seat at the table. There's some stat I need to pull it, but marketing is the most underrepresented background on boards. You'll get tons of people from finance, tons of people from, all different areas, but marketing is often most of the underrepresented on boards. And I think I've thought for years about why that is, but there's something that we need to be doing better to kind of step up and earn that seat at the table. You have this phrase this about the Swiss Army marketer. I have hunches, but I'd love to hear, what you feel like, what that means, and what's broken about the way that marketers are approaching their roles.
Yeah, it's a really good call out, and I think a lot of people, if you're in the B2B space and you've been in marketing for a while, you are seeing this. There are less and less CMOs in the executive team or the executive function. You see more people like me, head of marketing or director of marketing, rolling up to the C-suite and being, that strategic and executive kind of voice for marketing. I think from my perspective personally, there's two fundamental things that I think marketers could do better at, and getting us back to the boardroom and the executive table. First is being a data driven marketer and tying those analytics and data back to the business goals and the main metrics that the C suite and the board are interested in. We often, I'm a data driven marketer. I fall victim to this as well. Sometimes I get really excited about my own data and I have a hard time marrying that or bridging the gap of what is the CFO explaining in our all hands or our company meetings, or what are they saying to the board, and how are my slides or my data points mixing and complementing those, right? Or tying together to show the whole story. Because if it's a fragmented message where it's marketing and sales and finance and delivery and all these other organizations that say the same thing, we're trending this way, we're doing this. And then marketing's like, hey, we're doing this and we're doing really well. And here's our click-through rates and here's our open rates. You're not marrying they've tuned out. They don't understand what it is that we're doing, and we're not bridging the gap between them. So I think there's a fundamental thing of saying, this is marketing generated pipeline. This is sales generated pipeline. The reason that this is important is because this funnel feeds this funnel, or this opportunity rate and this close rate is different. And this is, working backwards for those. So I spent a lot of time educating the sales team, my team, and our organization on what they can expect from marketing, what the data means, and how it kind of bridges, or, what does it mean in the grand scheme of things, and in relation to what our sales leader is saying and our CFO is saying. Mm. The second component that I would say is the biggest downfall of why we're not seeing as many leaders from marketing is because we're not doing a good job of marketing ourselves, and also flexing skills and being open to opportunities, challenges, and growth and exploration in our own roles. I think several years ago, marketers were praised when they were marketing specialists. I am a paid ad specialist. I'm an SEO specialist. I'm a content writer, right? Or I'm a content copywriter. I'm a demand gen. I'm ABM, right? And so we were in these silos of what we do, when in reality, we all have a marketing background. We work in a marketing team. We work on integrated campaigns. We all need to be doing more in our roles and saying that I can be a Swiss Army knife. That means I can do anything that you kind of throw at me, and I will take it and I will learn from it and I will excel. And it takes time to get used to that and to be okay with new things. I wouldn't necessarily consider PR a marketing function, but in today's world, I do. And that kind of rolls up to me. And so something I'm not as comfortable with, I haven't done it in 10, 15 years. All of a sudden now I'm doing that. I would never say, this is not my role, I'm not going to do this. I think, and I'd like to see more marketers do this in their own roles. And I think it would really help us become leaders at the end of the day as well.
I love that. That is one thing that I feel like I've never fully, it's just like, I don't know, the way my brain works is a new thing. It's like, sweet. You mean you're going to pay me while I learn this thing? Like, that's awesome. And I've found like a lot of people don't think the same way. They're like, I don't know how to do that. So either you tell me how to do it, or I just am not going to do it.
Right.
Why do you think people have that mindset, and like, what can they do to change it? Because I do think that becomes their own stumbling block often in their growth.
Yeah, I do think it does come from leadership to some degree. I mean, you're a perfect example of this, and I think my background is an example of this as well. My path to where I am is not traditional by any means. Your path to CEO, I would not also say is traditional. It's because you were either given the opportunity or asked if you wanted the opportunity and you said yes. And so both of those kind of came from a leadership or someone above you saying, I think you could do something different if you're interested, if you want to accept it. And you said, yes, I'm going to. And most of my team that I've ever gone to and I've said, I think you would be really great at this. It's completely outside of your traditional scope, but I think you would excel at it. And I think if more leaders went to their team and showed excitement and trust that they could do something that they haven't done, more people would continue to expand their horizons and be more of a Swiss Army knife.
I like that. And that excitement, I'm sure, communicates confidence in this person that while you may not know how to do this, I'm so confident in you that I'm excited for you to take this on
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think you're going to win.
I mean, your journey, what would you say for your journey? I mean, you started at the company 13 something years ago, right?
Yep. 13 years ago, I started at just like entry level role, and I would say it was probably a mix of a lot of different things. Some luck, some opportunities given to me, some opportunities I just saw and I just did. Um, but yeah, I always viewed it as I could go to college. I mean, I did. I got a degree, just a bachelor's degree, so I don't have like an advanced degree. But I thought I could go get a master's degree, and I'd have to pay a lot of money for that. And these guys they're going to pay me to go learn how to do a P&L, or they're going to pay me to go learn. I'm going to go pitch this giant corporation, and I'm going to learn how to pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's a way better deal, and I'm excited to learn new stuff. So I just kind of felt like every opportunity was just like another arrow I was putting in my quiver that I could rely on at some other point in the future. And so I think it was that like hope and positive outlook that ended up making the opportunities that I had more successful. And I feel like if I had approached the same opportunities with a lens of, I don't know how to do this, I'm probably going to fail, it's probably not going to go well, that I would not have taken advantage of those opportunities nearly as well. So I see your point about having a leader who's kind of inspiring and saying, "You got this. I got your back. It's going to go great." That could add a lot of fuel to someone's fire when approaching something new.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Your background, like, tell me about some of the opportunities and chances you took and the impact that had in your career.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very similar. I either was given an opportunity or I raised a hand, and like I said, that's what I'm trying to do with my team as well. And I have seen it um, produce dividends that I wouldn't expect and that no one expected of those team members at various different roles in various different organizations. When you give people the trust and confidence that you see in them, and that I mean, that's also partially a skill. I'm a strategist. I'm trying to pull out specific things from people. Or I'm trying to pull out specific messages that are going to go into our messaging, but it is really the same muscle that we're using either internally or externally with our campaigns. So yeah, I mean, I part of it is also just marketing, right? Marketing ourselves, marketing your team, marketing our abilities of what we're doing internally, marketing what we do with clients, right, to get more clients. It's interesting how everything at the end of the day is very actually similar when you boil it down to what we're doing.
I love that. So if there was a leader to wrap up, let's say there's a leader listening right now who's building a team and they want to help this team innovate, strike new ground, come up with new ideas, break the mold on what they're doing. Maybe they've stepped into a new role, or maybe they're leading a team they've been leading for years, but they know it's time to shake things up. It's I'd love to know maybe your parting advice for that person. Obviously, one being inspire confidence, give them opportunities to take these risks. What might be some other things that you would tell this person to really shake things up?
To give people space to be creative, space to learn, space to grow, uh, space to make mistakes, space to bring whatever it is that you need to bring to work that day and work through it. Or so much of business is set your personal side aside and focus on what we're doing in the organization. And I tell my team all the time, thank goodness, thank you to everyone who is a first responder and a doctor and a nurse and all the people that make our world go round, and that we have safety and healthcare and all the things. Thank goodness we are not saving lives, right? That's what I say to
Yeah.
my team all the time. At the end of the day, we do not save lives, and that's a blessing because we can. If something is coming up, you have the space to always talk to me. So as much as I am going to inspire them and push them to grow in their careers and in their individual roles, my team also knows that they can come to me and say, like, my dog is really sick and I need to take him to the vet. And part of that is being compassionate and giving them the space to know that they're not going to be able to bring their best work, and they're not going to be creative, and they're not going to push boundaries if something is going on at home or that they need to. So I think it's a delicate balance of having compassion and understanding. And I think I've done the same, and leaders have done the same to me as well, which I've always really appreciated.
Yeah, I like that. I have a friend who ran a PR agency, and she would always say, guys, this is PR, not ER. And that's always stuck with me. Like, yeah, lives are not hanging in the balance on what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I think that creates a lot of psychological safety to take some risks and do some things that are new.
Yeah. And that we can push the boundaries, and it's okay to fail. I mean, sometimes the best thing to do is to fail fast, right? Is to try something and deem it, this was unsuccessful. We have to try the next thing and move on quickly. It's okay. And almost every organization and every team has done it. And some of the best learnings come from those as well. So
I love that. Thank you, Whitney, so much for joining us today. I'd love to send listeners to like something to have them read about you or connect with you. What would be the best place to send them?
LinkedIn is the best place. As a true marketer, I'm not the best at marketing myself on LinkedIn, so I'm usually behind the scenes on Gorilla Logic or other places. But LinkedIn is definitely the best place.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Whitney, for bringing your perspective on leadership and marketing innovation. I think a lot of what you said was something that our audience needs to hear. And it's a time of change. And so like leadership and strong leadership is really, really valuable right now. So thank you for sharing your tips on that.
Pax, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
That's it for today, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Huge thank you to Whitney Goldstein for joining us today. You can find her on LinkedIn and head over to gorillalogic.com to learn more about what they're building over there. You can find past episodes of the campaign and examples of her work at 97thfloor.com. There, you can learn more about the agency and get in touch with a marketing specialist to get support for your own marketing campaigns. That's it for now. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you back here next time. Until then, keep innovating, keep converting.